ship with a floating palace called Titanic. That's a girl, yes! I worked in a restaurant called the Ritz. I worked for Chef Rousseau, a grand chef, but a bit too heavy in the sauces for my liking. When we get to St George's Market, remind me to tell you what happened to Chef.
Belfast Bread is a kibosh production, and it's a celebration of food and drink in Belfast. And we originally worked with Belfast City Council Evening Economy on it, and the whole premise of it was that we would celebrate Indigenous independent producers, and we would celebrate the food and drink of Belfast while looking at the social and political history of the city. And it was initially for tourists, but what we find is an awful lot of locals go on it. And basically the premise of the story is that you're led around Belfast over a 3-hour period by a fictitious character called Barney, and Barney was a chef on Titanic, and whenever the boat sank he ended up in an iceberg, and due to global warming the iceberg melted and he floated ashore in Belfast wearing his chef's whites, and he bumps into a councillor, and the councillor makes a bet with him. If you can recreate the meal you cooked on Titanic, then you can cook a dinner in the City Hall. And so basically he's on an ingredient hunt, and he's got maximum 22 audience members with him, and he goes to 5 different local establishments to get the ingredients he needs to make the dinner. So you go to Sawyer's, you go to Morn Seafood, you go to the John Hewitt, you go to the Potted Hen, you go to McHugh's, and you finish at St George's. And in each place Barney gets a certain ingredients that he needs. But in each place we also wanted to make sure that those on the tour get to meet the people that run those particular businesses, because they're all very unique individuals. They're all from and off the city, and they are offering and selling and making food that can't be experienced anywhere else. And so that's basically the gist of it. And so you start off in Sawyer's at 10:30 on a Friday or Saturday morning, and you finish at St George's at about 1:30.
Yes, come on.
John, get yourself.
I'm just promoting the tour there. Alright, how you doing? I'm Kieran Sloan here. I'm the owner of Sawyer's here.
It's an integral part of Belfast to show and sample what we get in these places, because you're trying local food. They give it all local. It's local produce from Belfast, and I think that needs to be outlined in Belfast more in the produce that we have here. It's fantastic. It's fresh, bursting with flavour. It is some of the best food in the world, and we seem to forget that because it's the kebab and pizza culture. That you know what I mean. So it's nice to show people what we actually have here that's fresh and healthy for you.
Whenever we first were putting the show together, one of the key things for us was that we wanted to celebrate what's unique about Belfast, but we also wanted to celebrate producers that are independent and are using local produce, so that we can say, that we can talk about the fact that local food is fresh, it is completely unique, that we have something to celebrate within it, but also through our local food and drink we can talk about the social and political history. So there was all these stories that we heard, so we wanted to make sure that all the businesses that we were working with were also using local produce and had unique stories to tell. And then of course it was important that we meet characters, because if you create a play and you have a larger than life central character like Barney, who is the chef of Titanic, then the characters that he interacts with all need to be larger than life. And so you've got the likes of Kieran Sloan from Sawyer's. I mean, Kieran has worked in there since he was 16. It's his family business. He sells such a range of produce, but he also has a wonderful personality, and people go into that business and shop there because of Kieran. Similarly, when you look at Bob and Andy, who run Morn Seafood, I mean, the story about how that business came about, and the fact that it started off with a mussel farm because Bob was studying engineering. He then discovered that he could actually harvest mussels. Then you go to the likes of the John Hewitt and you meet Jerry, and you are able to tell people that every single penny that's made in the John Hewitt supports the Belfast Unemployed Centre. And that's quite an incredible story, and encouraging each of these businesses to talk about what it is that makes them unique.
That led to a harbour, and that's how we grew so quick.
What were your highlights of the Belfast Bread tour?
I think it was the fact that you went to a lot of places that you hadn't already been, and I sort of think I know Belfast quite well, so never been in the John Hewitt was really nice to see there and to hear about how the profits go back into the community. Sawyer's, I haven't been in it in years, so it was brilliant to see round. The food was much more than we expected. I mean, I thought it would just be morsels, but really you couldn't, certainly won't be eating any lunch.
I thought it was very, very interesting. I was very interested in the John Hewitt and all the history and about the bread making and about the original Lower North Street, where it was originally the bank. It was a coffee company, and across the road from it was a sugar factory, which I did not know. And it was all very exciting and interesting, and I'm a thirst for knowledge.
It's just good that we find a way whereby arts and business can actually work together to enhance tourism in the city, but also to make our citizens proud of the city. And so many anecdotes are told to you as you go on the tour.
Lamb from animals, so happy they went singing to the slaughterhouse. Yeah.
So if people want to come and see the show, the tickets are £20. It happens every Friday and Saturday between the 24th of July and the 12th of September, and you get tickets from Visit Belfast or kibosh.net.